God, sometimes things happen that just gotta drive a guy insane, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I like Ubisoft. I probably like them the most out of any major AAA manufacturer of video games out there. I definitely do. But it doesn't fucking pull me away from calling them out on their fucking bullshit. Because, I don't have an allegiance to anybody in this industry. I just like good fucking games. Now, one game that Ubisoft is creating is called Beyond Good and Evil 2, a game that I have actually been kind of excited for. I looked at some of the gameplay that released just recently and was kind of blown away. The planet, flying around, all that kind of stuff, it looked so detailed, it looked really nice. I mean, sure, the combat looked a little weird and dated, but those were things that were in development. This game definitely looked pretty nice. And come to think of it now, ladies and gentlemen, a game that is single player, comes from a single player root. One game before that has a single player rooted history, a single player game. The sequel, which is also apparently playable solo, according to the developer, is required to have online only. Now, I want to start off and preface this by saying that, there are some people that are going to say this video is just a guy being angry for the sake of being angry. And here I'm going to give you guys my example of why I am so against this kind of shit. Now, online-only video games are absolutely terrible. They're terrible because at their very core, they are just a form of the worst possible DRM solution out there. No other industry gets this fucked when it comes to this kind of anti-piracy bullshit, and it needs a check and balance. Let me get this straight. So basically, the reasoning for Beyond Good and Evil 2 needing an online-only connection, even if you're playing it totally solo, is so that you can receive dynamic updates, have seamless navigation, whatever the fuck that means, and play with your friends. Of course, obviously you'll need an online connection to do that. And it's insulting that people are just willing to accept this and the company can just say this and basically get away with it. Ubisoft is redoing exactly what the fuck they did with Assassin's Creed 2. If you all don't take a look back into the days of Assassin's Creed 2 on the PC had the worst case of DRM at the time. Basically what they did initially before this was patched out was Assassin's Creed 2 required you to be always connected to Ubisoft servers. Now, it's not like back in the day where the internet was the same as it is now. The internet has always gotten better in terms of its stability. And for me, this issue isn't really an issue. I have 100% uptime on my internet. I have a good fucking internet connection. I am fine. For me, this added feature wouldn't exactly hurt me from playing the game. I wouldn't care. I would be connected to Uplay all the time, which is Ubisoft's the server launcher, whatever you want to call it. It wouldn't be an issue. For me, I find this a problem to be that the response they gave was bullshit. Because this is a single-player game. They have pitched this as a single-player game. Now they want to move around to the fact that it has a cooperative experience. Plenty of games have a cooperative experience. They do not require you to be online only. But going back to the Assassin's Creed 2 example, Ubisoft basically on the PC version of the game forced you to be connected to Ubi servers. If you lost your connection, well, you couldn't play the game, all right, until you regained your connection. Lots of people were pissed, and rightfully so. This is another case of that. And to me, the most recent example to this is Need for Speed 2015. A game that the only reason it needs an online connection is you can fucking upload screenshots. That was EA's bullshit response. And this response by Ubisoft is as bullshit as it can get. There is no reason why this game, that has been basically billed as a single-player adventure that has co-op in it, requires online only, when the same fucking company makes a game called Ghost Recon Wildlands, which has a massive open world, co-op inside it, but a way for you to play it totally offline if you have the disc version on PS4 and Xbox One. I don't see anywhere where you need internet required to play those games. So the entire reasoning they're giving with you here is bullshit. This game is not doing anything that hasn't been seen in other games. The whole flying out of the planet stuff, we've seen that shit on No Man's Sky. That runs locally on a PS4 or PC without any form of internet connection. The combat in itself can exist in many other action role-playing games. That does not need an online-only service. The other comparison I can make here is something like Dark Souls. Dark Souls 3 is one of my favorite games this generation. And you want to know something about it? Dark Souls as a franchise, the Souls games, have had a very, very well crafted system of dynamic multiplayer and single player. People can invade your world, you can invade theirs. It's all seamless and done right through in-game items. And it's a game that runs on a backbone network engine. It is. The only difference is I can put Dark Souls 3 into my PlayStation 4, disconnect my PlayStation 4 from the internet, it never even knows the internet exists, install the game, and call it a day. So forget this response from Ubisoft about Beyond Good and Evil 2 when the game really isn't even an MMO. There is nothing in the game that is passing off as an MMO. And there's lots of games that have this bullshit that don't have an MMO structure to them. And at the end of the day, they're getting this forced online experience. That is basically, at the end of the day, DRM. Now, there are games that I'm okay with that have a completely online infrastructure. Games like Rainbow Six Siege, games like Fallout 76 that have an MMO structure to them, games that have been billed as an MMO, games that have needed to be shown as an MMO. You know, games like World of Warcraft, that is a massively multiplayer online game. But a game like this, where most of the processing is done locally, should not require you to have an online connection just for the sake of persistent dynamic updates. Because at the end of the day, it's another way for these guys to take $60 of ours and not give us anything in return. You might be wondering, well, at least we get a game. Here's the thing. Even if you get the disc version of Beyond Good and Evil 2 and like fucking 10, 15 years later for whatever reason you want to play it again, right? Well, guess what? You can't. Imagine if the servers go offline. Imagine if PSN stops working or Xbox Live for whatever reason. Well, then the game you have is utterly pointless. You're basically getting a license key on the disc. And for the people that say most of the games aren't even on the disc, that's bullshit, because a lot of games that don't require you to have internet have the games on the disc. Red Dead Redemption 2. I was able to install the game through two discs onto my PlayStation 4, call it a day. Playing through the Kingdom Hearts games right now. Able to install the HD collection onto my PS4. Don't need internet, don't need anything. Assassin's Creed Odyssey, a game from the same developers, does not need online-only co-op. I can disconnect my system and play the game just as I could, completely without the internet. So for these people to start putting this BS into the game now, and feed us this, and people just willingly accept it, is a little bit insulting to me. It seems as though we've forgotten the days where these guys used to try and do this shit, and we just completely told them, no, it's wrong, it's bullshit. And they admitted, yeah, we were trying to fuck you over. Let's revert back to a proper system. This doesn't help the game. Receiving dynamic updates, that's called pushing a patch. These guys do it already on a fucking frequent basis anyways to all the major systems, through their launchers or through the PSN or Xbox Live. Seamless navigation, you can't say that and not give us a fucking clue as to what it is. And playing with friends, well, guess what? Games like Borderlands exist. Games like Dark Souls exist. Games like Halo 1, 2, 3, and 4 exist. Even, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, where I can play the game split screen. I can play them co-op, or I can choose to disconnect myself from the network and not play with them online. You get what I'm trying to say? These things are not things that require a constant online connection. But the will for these guys to be able to sell you guys copies that you don't ultimately own is exactly what they want to pass off anyways. You know, games like Cyberpunk 2077 will come out, and I doubt that game will have an online-only infrastructure. Yet, it'll be more impressive than this game that Ubisoft is creating. Witcher 3, any game that is coming out, you know, properly made, should not need an online-only connection. A single-player experience should not require you to be completely online. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. This is fucking bullshit. It is complete bullshit. And I want to know what you guys think about this. But ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Just like if you dislike it, I am out.